This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and we love making this show available to you free of charge. If you'd like to help us keep it that way, please make a contribution to our Karma Jar. For more information, visit our website. Today I'm baking a batch of lemon snowdrop cookies. You know, the snowdrop is a flower that blooms only in the winter time, and you can make these cookies any time of year. What they are is like a little lemon shortbread, and sandwiched in between two of them is this really thick and delicious lemon filling, and then I dust the top with powdered sugar. The first thing we'll do is make our lemon filling, and we cook that in a little saucepan. And to the saucepan, I'll add 1/3 of a cup of water, a half a cup of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And the cornstarch is what is going to make this nice and thick. Then I'll take my whisk and I'll whisk this in. Now it's important that the water you use be either room temperature or cold. You don't want it to be hot. If it's hot, it may make that cornstarch lump, which we don't want to happen. So just stir that around till the cornstarch is totally dissolved. And then I'm going to set this aside. Now when you're making a filling like this, it's important that you get all of your ingredients ready before you head over to the stove, because things happen rather quickly, and you want to make sure that everything is at the ready when it's time to put it in the pan. Now we're going to get our egg yolks ready. So I have 4 eggs here, and I'm going to show you real quick how I separate eggs if you haven't seen me do it before. I have 3 little bowls here, and I'm going to take one of my eggs, and notice I crack it flat on the board, not on the edge of the bowl. Sometimes when you crack it on the edge of something like this, little shards of the shell break off, and we don't want that. So I'm going to start in one bowl here. I'll open the egg carefully, and then I try to keep the yolk inside one of the shells. And then I start moving it back and forth. And you'll see that that egg white kind of just falls away. And once most of the egg white has fallen away, I'll take the egg yolk, I'll put it in one of my bowls. And notice this one broke very quickly, so I'm really glad that I was using this technique. Then I'm going to take my egg white and I'll put it over in this bowl. So the reason I do that is that way my egg yolks and my egg whites are always separate. So let me show you again. Get all the white out. Put the yolk in with the yolks. Put the white in with the whites. Now I have my 4 egg yolks, so I'm going to set that to the side. And these 4 egg whites, I wouldn't throw them away. I just cover them with plastic. They can keep in the refrigerator for a day or 2, and you can either make an egg white omelet with them, or if you wanted to make a quick batch of coconut macaroons, check out my podcast on that. They are really, really good. The next thing to do is get my lemon zest ready, and I need a tablespoon of zest. Now I have lots and lots of lemons on my tree at this time of the year, and I have big ones and small ones. Now for the zest, I'm going to go for the bigger ones because I can get a lot more zest off of this than if I were to have to do these little teeny ones. So I'll take my microplaner and I'll just lightly drag it over the top. What I'm looking for is just the bright yellow part. I don't want the white underneath it. That pithy part can be kind of bitter, which we don't want. I've taken the zest off of this one lemon, and then I'm just going to take my 1 tablespoon measuring spoon and I'm going to scrape that on there. I've got my 1 tablespoon of zest. I'm going to put this in a little bowl. That'll be easier to take it over to the stove. Next I need 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So I'm going to take the lemons that I've just zested. I'll cut them in half, and I always like to have a little strainer over my measuring cup because these lemons from my garden have a lot of seeds in them. They're super juicy though, so I want to capture all those seeds. So I'll just squeeze the juice through that strainer until I get about 1/4 cup. So that was that 1 big lemon there. And the last ingredient is 2 tablespoons of butter. And I like to cut the butter up into some little cubes because I find it melts a lot quicker. So now we have all of our ingredients, so let's head over to the stove and make our filling. Now I've got my saucepan here over a medium heat, and I'll whisk that until it begins to simmer. Now while I'm waiting for this to come to simmer, I wanted to show you, over here on the side I have a little bowl with a strainer and a spatula. We're going to want to have that on hand as well, because once we get all the ingredients in the pan and they're cooked, we will want to run this filling through a strainer to catch any of the egg solids that may have cooked along the way. Now as I'm stirring, I'm starting to see that I can see the bottom of the pan a lot more, which is good. You can see it's getting very thick. So at this point, I'm going to take my egg yolks and drop them in just one at a time, making sure to whisk really, really well. Add my zest, my lemon juice, and then my little bits of butter. Now it's come back to simmer. It's very, very thick. So I'm going to take it off the heat and put it through my strainer. And I'll take and I'll push this through with my spatula. Now you'll see that I end up with some of those whites in here, which is great because I don't want those to be in my filling. But I do have a lot of it here on the outside of my strainer, so I'll just scrape that off. Now you can see that this lemon filling is really hot still. So I'll want to leave it out on the counter at room temperature for about a half an hour or so, and then I'll cover it and put it in the refrigerator. It's important that the filling is totally cold before we put it in our cookies. Now while the filling is cooling, we can make our little lemon cookies. I'm going to be using my standing mixer, but you could certainly use a hand mixer if you have one. And next we're going to get our butter ready. I have 1 cup of butter. I've taken it right out of the refrigerator, but I do like to cut it in half lengthwise twice and then run my knife through it to make these little cubes. I find that this really creams up nicely. And I'll pop these into my bowl, along with a half a cup of powdered sugar and 1 teaspoon of lemon zest. And I'm going to let that cream up for about 1 minute. Now you can see just after a minute that butter and powdered sugar and lemon zest has gotten really nice and creamy, so that is perfect. And next we're going to add the flour. So I'm just using regular all-purpose flour. And I'm going to scoop, and then I like to use my knife to level. That's 1 cup. We're going to end up putting 2 cups into this cookie, and then just 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'll let this mix on a low speed just until the flour and salt comes together with the butter. And there we go. We don't want to overmix it because we don't want to add a lot of air to this cookie. If you do add a lot of air to some cookies, what happens is after they bake, then they collapse. And we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take this off the mixer and use my spatula just to give it a final mix. I want to make sure there's no pockets of flour anywhere. Now we're going to get our cookies ready to bake. So I have my baking sheet with a piece of parchment here at the side. I'm using my smallest cookie scoop. It's about 1.5 teaspoons. So if you don't have a scoop, just measure out about that much dough. And what we'll do is we'll take, and this dough is very sturdy, I'm going to roll it into a ball like this and place it on my sheet. And once I get a few of them on, I am going to take my finger and just lightly press that down just a little bit. Now this is a sandwich type cookie, so for each snowdrop we will need a top and a bottom. So 2 cookies for each snowdrop. And I'll just go back and slightly press that down just a little bit. They're going to spread a little bit on their own, but I want to give them just a little bit of help. Now, I'm going to place these in a 400-degree oven. I've already preheated it so it's nice and hot. And after 9 minutes, they'll come out. You'll see they've spread just a little bit. They have just the teeniest little bit of color on top, not golden brown at all. But if I was to carefully lift one up, you can see we've got color on the bottom. So these are baked through, but they need to cool. So I'm just going to slide the parchment here on my rack and let these cool, and then I'll continue to bake the rest of them. Then when the cookies are cool and the filling is cool, then we can start filling them. Now it's time to fill our little lemon snowdrops. So I've taken my lemon filling out of the refrigerator, and it's very, very thick, which is what I wanted because I don't want it to ooze out of the cookie. So I'll take just a little dollop right in the middle, take a second cookie, place it on top, give it just a little press, and then I'll set it on my parchment. I'm going to go ahead and fill all the cookies this way, and then the last thing we'll do is get a little colander out, or a little sifter, with some powdered sugar, and then we're just going to gently tap a light coating on top of each cookie. And now for a little taste. These cookies are a lot like a shortbread. They're a little bit thicker. They're very explosive when you bite into them. They're not chewy or anything like that, but they have that wonderful lemon flavor, not only in the cookie, but in the filling as well. Now, because of the lemon filling, you will need to refrigerate these cookies. So what I would do is put them on a plate if you're not going to serve them right now, and pop them into the refrigerator. In fact, you could even wait on dusting them with powdered sugar until you're ready to serve them. Another thing you could do is bake the cookies, and you could put them in the freezer and then have the lemon filling in the refrigerator. That filling will last at least a week or two in the refrigerator. And then that way, when you do want to make the cookies, just take however many tops and bottoms you need, and then bring them out of the freezer, fill them with the lemon filling, and then let them defrost for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then dust them with the powdered sugar, and then it'll be just fresh, just like we just made them. Well, if you'd like to make these lemon snowdrops at home, just go to our website and visit the cookie jar show notes, and I'll have the recipe there for you. If you do make them, don't forget to send me a photo so I can send you the cookie badge. I hope you'll join us on Facebook. We have a wonderful community where we share information and ideas with each other. And as always, if you have any ideas or questions for me, please feel free to send me an email. I'll see you next time.